Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurudeva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapiyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vasudevasutam Devam Tam Sachanuramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. The truth, the reality, the Atma, the consciousness, in midst of all activities, is actually visible to the wise one. Because it is in the presence of consciousness, the Atma, the Self, that all activities in the inert equipments are possible. And therefore, one who recognizes this consciousness, which is akarta, because it is unchanging, unmodifying, avyaya, imperishable, one who can recognize that all activities are happening in the inert equipments because of the presence of Atma, consciousness, one who recognizes the presence of this Atma, consciousness, because of which all activities are happening but itself is inactive. Means one who realizes his self to be the non-doer. Such a person has attained the fulfillment of life. So, this knowledge of recognizing the presence of the Atma, and therefore when you say that act without ego, and we've seen philosophically, ego means that I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, I am the sufferer due to my identification with the body, mind and intellect. So one who recognizes that even in the midst of all activities, and as long as you are living, in biology also you must have studied, what do you define as life? When you say an inert object and a living being, what is the difference? The living being responds, acts. So as long as you live, action will be there. Now there can be desire-prompted action or what you call as natural action, breathing, eating, etc. These actions will be there. But when we get identified with these equipments, when we get identified with the action, when we have got desire for some result and we get attached to that result, I become the doer, and the doer is the one who gets the fruits of action, becomes the enjoyer or the sufferer of the result of the action. So one is that when I recognize my presence in the universe as a very integral part of the universe. I have received, and it is also my duty to give back. And when we do actions in that attitude also, which is sadhana, which is practice, when we do it with that attitude, those actions also, in which there is no sense that I am doing a favor, I am doing an action for someone, even though the doership is there that I am doing the action, but when it is for the welfare of many or everyone around me, then also our vasanas get exhausted, and we don't incur more vasanas. Total doership can be given up when we recognize that the self I, the Atma, is not the doer. So now Krishna is leading us from Nehru Marg to Gandhi Marg. That is from the path of dedicated activities. As the mind gets purified, as you become as more introvert and self-aware, with knowledge you recognize that the ever-present consciousness Atma itself does not do anything, but in the presence of the Atma, everything exists and everything is functioning. Electricity does nothing. But ye yatha mam prapadyante, whichever equipment is connected to electricity, accordingly that equipment acts according to its nature. But electricity itself neither moves nor does it light up. It's the equipment. To be able to discriminate that guna guneshu vartante, matter functions amongst matter. And I, the self, does not do anything. Now when we shift our attention from the ever-changing equipments, finite and therefore incomplete, and wanting, desiring, and to achieve those desires, acting in the world. When we move our attention from this ever-changing activities of the body, mind and intellect, or the equipments that are constantly changing, you are identifying with the Atma, the consciousness, which remains as a mere presence, and its recognition is, it remains as a witness of all the activities. Now, sometimes you do these activities also, that you pick up your hand and muscle so slowly, and you observe it, observe it, observe it, observe it, observe it, observe it. Yeah? Take an hour to reach your nose. Yeah? So you'll know movement of every muscle, etc. These are different exercises, no? To be able to recognize that I am just the observer and all these activities are happening. So you identify with the Atma who is not the doer. This is knowledge. And as Gurudev says, in his commentary, that a time comes where you are able to observe all the activities happening and you are just a silent observer. Observer also sounds as though you are doing something, but it is not a doing. The sun shines, it is its nature. Now, having said that, there are two types of actions. One is the natural actions that go on with the body, like breathing, and of course, to survive, you have to eat. So those activities will continue even in a realized master. Not out of any need or desire, but will continue even in a realized master. And therefore, those who take to the path of sannyas, only one who knows the infinite self, and in the knowledge of the infinite self, having become completely fulfilled, for such a person there is no desire, there is no need for any activity, but physical activity goes on. But in those activities also, because of no identification with the body, mind and intellect, and the knowledge that I am the Akarta Atma, all these functions happen, but there is no sense of doership. Prarabdham pushyati vapu. Even this body function goes on according to its past karmas, its destiny. And he knows that I do nothing at all. In fact, everything is just happening. But those who take to the path of sannyas, who have less desires and therefore less wants, less demands, such people, when they take to path of sannyas, they give out many of the activities that most people do, because they do not have any duties such as family duties, earning income, job, profession, etc. They are taken to the path of sannyas. Even in them, activities like eating, etc., or as even students, Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasan, and various sadhanas are activities. And what Bhagavan is pointing out, that even in that, if there is a sense of doership and want, knowledge has not taken place. Jnana has not taken place. Even in a sadhak sannyasi, that realization may not be there. But having realized that it is not through any action that we gain the truth. Here, very important for sannyasis, because here also we think that due to some karma, not the external, extroverted, party-shati, job, stress, but through japa, through puja, through tapa, I will realize the truth. They are all means for purification of the mind, which means exhaustion of the vasanas. This is very important, and Bhagavan will conclude it with that, because then the following verses become clear. So even your so-called religious, spiritual, even your meditation, which really speaking becomes an action, the way people do it. If there is sense of doership and there is a desire to achieve a fruit due to your, even if the fruit is not a worldly object, even to consider Brahman to be the fruit. It is not the result of action. These are subtle things. If you don't understand, don't worry about it. But this is for those who have even taken to the path of sannyas, where most extroverted activities are given up. Even there, that sense of doership, I am doing the puja. Even if it is saying to attain the Lord, yeah, there is both expectation of a result through the action. This is very subtle, but as I said, that's why even in your so-called spiritual sadhanas, when that doership is there, and it is not negative ego, yeah, it is not even negative want, but to think that as a result of this action, which is finite, limited, even however sacred it is, yeah, the infinite is not the result of this action. So these verses, when Shankaracharya comments, he says these are verses for a sadhaka, that you do your action, yeah, do your duties if you have any duties. Those duties should not be abandoned when you have got, some karma to pay back, results of karma. But they should be done without selfish desire or even that ego that I am doing it. So, two sadhakas. Those who have to work in the world because already of their past taking, commitment, yeah, or they have still some desires. They work for out of a sense of duty. And there are others, for whatever reason, like Bhishmacharya, others, who themselves really had no personal want, desire. But some karma, they had to remain in the midst of the world. Yeah. But they also did actions without ego and egocentric, selfish desires. While a realized person like Krishna, again did all activities not because as a sadhana to purify his mind, but for loka sangraha, for the well-being of everyone without the sense of doership or wanting anything out of it. And that we see that entire family of Yaduvamsh is being destroyed. He watches that also. Because in nature, everything happens. Creation as well as perishing. Now this is subtle. If any one of you have not understood, don't worry. What you have to understand is that do all your actions, whether it's your worldly duties which you are in right now and you cannot escape from it. For those who are freed from those duties, such as brahmacharis, sannyasis, they have duties of ashram, seva, guru, seva. These are also actions. They should not worry about these actions. These actions should also be done as dedication. Yeah? To the Lord. And that's why in bhakti the surrender is that I don't think that whatever sadhana I have done, that will bring the Lord. It's only by the grace of the Lord. So all sadhana is to gain that grace. And that grace comes, dhatu prasadat, as said in Kathopanishad. One meaning is grace of the divine, of the Lord. the other is purification of the mind. When the purification of the mind takes place, this capacity to know arises, and when through the knowledge of the scriptures as expounded by the Guru on reflection and meditation, we recognize that I am not the Atma, am not the doer. Clear? So, having understood this, now Bhagavan says that will not even such activities, because as long as you live, activity is essential. Say for the family people, for the sense of duty and the well-being of everyone, they have to act. As far as sannyasis, only bodily actions to sustain the body, these activities have to go on. But in that also, will not a person get bound? No? So Bhagavan goes to explain now the following verses that, and this is where I told you all to discuss, that when we say simple, act without attachment, act without ego and egocentric, selfish desires, but the intricacies of how the ego expresses itself, and in different forms desires arise, and how attachment takes place, Bhagavan himself is breaking it down. That's why I told you to discuss it. But we have broken it down even finer and finer. Otherwise, you don't have too many, sensuous attachments. Yeah. Except pakoras sometime. But still, those attachments that you have for children, this attachment also that, if I don't do this, and even after retirement, if I don't become a consultant, where will I get my comforts, etc.? All these notions are there where we still have this, that it's with wealth, it is with comfort, it is with this or that my existence is there and my happiness is there. Therefore, element of desire is there. Therefore, attachment. See, otherwise, even how sincerely everyone is working. But it is said very clearly in the scriptures, Acharyavan Purusho Veda. To come to this point where we have a guru and a parampara of Taponji Maharaj, Shankaracharya and Gurudev. And you have also been pursuing it. Yeah? Then don't think after many lives you have to attain it. In spite of all the progress that you have seen within yourself, the aspirations that you have, yet if realization is not taking place, we have the knowledge also of what is Atma, what is, Anatma, self, what is the not self. All this knowledge also is there. But manashodhanam has to take place. Yeah? Not of gross. Even gross is there to some extent. But these subtle levels, even in our spiritual sadhana, even in our seva, these subtle egos, these desires, expectations, attachment, comes in. That's why even at 95, they will not give up the committee. Not that they are taking any financial gains from it. Not that they can do anything. Just see. Territorial also people become. In management, you have to have your demarcations, but not so territorial that you don't do anything, you don't allow others to do also anything. See, why am I breaking this down? Otherwise, to just explain the verses and go, That's why Bhagwan also, he has explained all this in the beginning. But our understanding, our subtlety, our constant being aware of the functionings of our mind, and these two things, the sense of doership and our attachment to the fruits of our actions. Even though in one line Krishna had said it in the beginning. Why so many explanations? Because the subtleties of our mind, the subtleties of our attachment, our inabilities that we feel due to the pressure of our own past karmas, actions, and our own past cultivated likes, dislikes, desires. And even subtler than that, notions. That through karma, whether sacred karma, selfless karma, even selfless karma, leads you to that. Itself does not give you the knowledge, the realization. Only through knowledge do you realize it. And knowledge takes place in an equipment which is free of attachment, free of desire. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.